bioeconomy. Earlier, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for increased climate financing to address issues of adaptation and resilience. Guterres and the African Union chairperson Cyril Ramaphosa urged developed countries to honor their Paris Agreement commitments. CGTN's Daniel Arab-Moy has more.
Many African nations are already suffering the consequences of climate change, a warning of what's to come if action is not taken. Droughts and floods are becoming more frequent and intense. Warmer seas are fueling storms, especially in the southern part of the continent.
Beyond COVID-19, there is perhaps no area of human endeavor that requires common global action more than our response to climate change. It is essential that we each honor our commitments under the Paris Agreement to combat climate change with a specific focus on the means of implementation, support, and adaptation efforts.
Climate experts say that just like COVID-19, climate change impacts could easily play out disproportionately across the world, worsened by long-existing inequalities.
Every country, city, financial institution, and company needs to adopt credible plans backed by intermediate goals for transition to net zero emissions by 2050 and to take decisive action now to put themselves on the right path.
The UN Climate Change Conference COP26 this year is expected to agree on rules for carbon trading. World's largest emitters are also expected to commit to more aggressive national targets to protect the environment. Daniel Arab-Moy, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a new international coalition to tackle the impacts of climate change. In a virtual address to the Climate Adaptation Summit, Johnson said the UK is partnering with the United Nations and 5 other countries, including Egypt and Malawi. Yasser Hakim looks at the reaction from Cairo.
Cairo has welcomed the results of the Climate Adaptation Summit. According to the UK, the newly set up coalition is aimed at turning the commitments on climate adaptation by the UN into action on the ground. Egypt, a member of the coalition, has its own set of climate change challenges.
Egypt faces several issues. First, the rising level of seawater. We can see that clearly along our coast. Secondly, is desertification. Third, is biological diversity and the migration of animals and people. Fourth, is food security. The weather change negatively affects agriculture and crops, which is important to take note of. Finally, is water scarcity, which is exacerbated by the Renaissance Dam.
Dealing with these crises requires costly preventive measures.
The agenda should include how we can control the rising seawater levels by building water barriers. Egypt has built a few, but it's expensive and need more. For desertification, we need to reduce the crops that are affected by global warming and increase other types of crops, and also change our irrigation strategy to reduce water consumption.
Experts say for the climate coalition to be a success, there must be a collective effort between government, the private sector, local communities and funders. Support should target low-income nations. They have contributed the least to the climate crisis but are the most at risk from its fallout. Yasser Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
Russia's